They get immediate feedback. Are you right or wrong? Okay, that's great. So let's go back up here and we'll try something else. We'll check answer again. Nope, still wrong. Notice how this has changed to final check in the bottom right-hand corner. And that's because I get 3 chances to get it right. If after the 3rd chance I still don't get it right, it's going to show me the correct answer. And I click OK. And then I can do another question if I want for full credit. And so this gives me a chance to cycle through, different problems and try it over and over and over again. I have some question help features here that I can access. And this is really where the power of MathXL becomes apparent. So I can view an example as a student. If I need some help, check out the example, work through step by step, the different parts of this example. This example is explained in 17 different parts, little bite-sized chunks that I can control, the rate at which I'm receiving this information. If that works, great. If not, maybe I need a different modality. Well, here's a video I can bring up. This will open a virtual nerd video, almost a 9-minute video that will take me through the solution process. I know you guys can't hear audio right now, but your students will certainly be able to hear the audio. The most powerful help feature is here, help me solve this at the top of the page. If I click help me solve this, this is similar to an example, except now it's the same exact problem that I'm working on rather than a similar problem. And now when I click continue, I actually have to, answer a question. And now I'm participating in the assignment process. So it's a back and forth. And, I'll, can get feedback from here, and it moves me on. And so you get the idea that it takes me through the problem-solving process, and now I'm learning how to think mathematically. Once I finish this, I'll close this box, and notice that as soon as I clicked help me solve this, it marked the problem wrong. Well, that's great, because now, instead of the computer just solving the problem for me, it regenerates a brand new problem automatically with new numbers, and then I can go through the problem on my own, and if I get it right, I'll get full credit for it. So theoretically, it's possible for your students to redo a problem as many times as they need to until they finally get it right and get 100% on that problem. And now students can, if they put the effort in, they can actually score 100% on every single MathXL assignment that you give them. Now, another thing to note, each student is going to get a different set of numbers for every problem. So here we can see that we're talking about cotangent of 180 degrees. If we look at the textbook, question 1 is tangent of 270 degrees. If, this is Johnny's question, cotangent 180, Susie might have, tangent 90, for instance. So this way, Johnny and Susie can sit right next to each other, and instead of Johnny just saying, hey, what'd you get for question 1, that's not going to help him. Johnny's going to have to say, how did you do question 1? Entirely different conversation now. So these tools are built into every single MathXL assignment. Now, the list of tools may change depending on where you are. But, I would argue that these tools are, in some cases, better than paying a math tutor to help you out. But for a variety of reasons. First, these tools are free. And so, this addresses that question of equity with our students. Most students, frankly, cannot afford a tutor, but every student can click these buttons now. And then also, we could hire a college student who's, a physics major to come in and help a student with, help our students with their homework. But that, is that physics student going to teach them proper pedagogy, or maybe teach them shortcuts that they shouldn't know yet? So we can be assured that you know, we're teaching with integrity here, and you know, addressing things at the proper level by using these tools. And again, every student will have access to these tools. So I want to exit out of this and talk just a little bit more about MathXL, and then I'll pause for questions again, okay? So now, remember, these are all the questions at the end of the book, or at the end of the lesson. Now, usually we're not going to give every single problem to every single student. It's just too much work. And besides, we want to differentiate a little bit for our students. Well, if you notice in the teacher's edition, when we get to this practice and problem solving section, we see an assignment guide here. This assignment guide breaks down the assignment problems into two different groups, one called basic or on level, and one called advanced. So these are the recommended problems that you give to each of the groups. And that way, not, you know, every kid isn't doing every single problem. That's just way too much work. We also see an item analysis chart here that might help me in making a choice as to what I want to assign to my students. But anyway, we'll use this basic guide here because when I go back to MathXL, now I can actually customize this MathXL assignment. I'll click Customize. This is going to open an editor. And now based on, you know, this assignment guide that I'm looking at here, I'm going to delete problems 28 and 29 from the basic lesson. So I'll go here, find problem 28 and problem 29. I'll hit the trash can, 28, hit the trash can, 29. Go back up to the top, and then I'm going to edit the title, and I'm going to call this, instead of basic, I'm going to call this standard, or maybe on level. And I'll even capitalize it so it's easier for me to see. Save that. And now I have created my first customized assignment. I'll go back to my lesson components here. I see there's my there's the original. If I click on versions, there's the customized version I just created. I go back to the original, and again, using that guide, this time I'm going to delete questions 20 and 21. And you get the idea. Oops, I hit the wrong button. I need to click Customize again. I'll delete questions 20 and 21, call it Advanced, and now I have 2 copies of this assignment. So delete 20, delete 21. Note also that I can add additional items if I want. I can rearrange the content in a different order. Lots of different things I can do in the customization process. But for now, I'll just show you that we can edit this as the 2 different recommended versions. And save it. And now when I go back to my content and scroll down to that assignment, versions, and there they are. There's the advanced version and the standard version. So I already know which students are going to be in you know, the standard group and which ones are going to be in the advanced group. Won't take you guys long to figure that out. So now I find my advanced assignment. I click Assign, start date, due date. And now I have a group called Advanced. I simply start typing in that word, Advanced, click, and Assign. Now all the students that I have identified as advanced students will get that assignment. I go to the standard assignment here, click Assign, and go through the same process. And then this time, I think I've called it Basic. Yep, there's Basic, and assign that to my basic students. So this is just one of the ways that you can customize and push out different versions to different groups in your class. with Math Excel. Now I'm going to stop there and see if you guys have any questions about Math Excel or how to customize and push out customized versions of these digital assessments. Joe, you have any questions?
So nothing's come up in chat about that. If anybody does, let's go ahead and unmute and come online. But Sally has a question about Newton, the adaptive practice powered by Newton. Do you have some time to take a look at that?
Sure. Yeah.
So she just wants to know what it looks like. What would be the use maybe for the teacher to assign the adaptive practice?
Yeah. So and this is the only component in Realize that when you click on it, you're not going to see anything. I mean, you've got some, it lists the standards that this Newton assignment is going to focus on, but there's no way to preview a Newton assignment. And the reason for that is Newton is our adaptive learning component of the program. What Newton does is it analyzes all of the responses and questions that students have done throughout the course. It finds the gaps in their knowledge, and it also learns different ways that students learn best. So some students learn better from a video, some students learn better from working an example, and then it's going to create a customized assignment for each student. That's why we can't preview it, because each student's Newton assignment is going to look a little different. So that's what Newton is about, and that's how it works for students. Newton is a great resource for those students who need just, additional help. Maybe they're not very self-motivated. Newton is going to pull resources, it's going to pull help features for those students to look at. Remember, Math Excel has help features built in, but students actually have to click help, to access those help features. Well, Newton kind of takes that guesswork out, or that motivation. Basically, it serves up the help features automatically. So that's kind of what Newton is. It's good for students who are independent learners, and it kind of runs in the background that your students can, work on Newton on their own.
Does it, for you, Carlton, does it show up in a report or anything like that you can see what they've done or anything like that?
It will not. And so that's one of the reasons you don't hear me talking about Newton very much, because from a teacher point of view, it's kind of a black hole, and you won't get any data. I mean, you can certainly look over the student's shoulder to see what they're learning, but no, you won't get any kind of feedback from Newton.
Sally, do you have anything else you want to ask or add about that, or anybody else about Newton?
No, but thank you for answering.
Sure, yep, you bet.
All right, Carlton.
Cool. All right, so we looked at one form of digital assessment, and that's Math Excel. The other type of digital assessment that you can give to your students are what I call these red dot assessments. Now, this is a quiz, and there are red dot assessments throughout the curriculum at all three levels, whether it's the table of contents, topic level, or lesson level. And let's take a look at these lesson quizzes. So I'll preview this. I'll click on it and click Start. So these are very CAST-like, CAST. Is it CAST or CASP? I can't remember now. CASP, right? Anyway,
with a P at the end.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, CASP. Because the science is the CAST and the math is the CASP. All right, I'm going to try to keep track of that. So very CASP-y. You can drag and drop. We have different question types that basically students are going to be able to utilize. And so these are great because students get to practice in a CASP-like environment, very SBAC-y. Multiple choice, drag and drop, multiple select, blah, 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 lots of different options here. And so year round, your students are going to be, practicing in this CASP-like environment. So when they actually take the CASP, it's going to be second nature, the digital interface anyway. So awesome, it's great. Math Excel, same thing, same type of, digital features and lot. It's not just all multiple choice. There are many different modalities for students to answer questions. The disadvantage, though, with the lesson quizzes is that every student gets exactly the same problem in exactly the same order. So if you are wanting to do a high stakes test, just keep in mind that there is no randomly generated problem values, no algorithmically generated problem values. Every kid gets the same questions and the same answers. The advantage, though, to lesson quizzes is that they include not only lesson quizzes, but most tests, anything that has a red dot. Look for the word remediation. I might have to click more, and I see remediation. If it has that word remediation, there are remediation resources that have been designed to specifically address gaps that have been identified by this resource. So you as a teacher, you may, review your students' quiz results and say, you know what, Joseph needs to do this, look at this video. Cassandra needs to do this additional example. So these are resources that are designed to specifically address any learning gaps associated with this lesson quiz. Now, the nice thing about it, though, is that by default, when you assign a lesson quiz, it's going to automatically push out a follow-up remediation activity to every single one of your students. How do I know that? Well, if you note right here for these red dot assessments, you see this automatically assign remediation and enrichment activities. You can uncheck that if you want to do it manually, but by default, it is selected. And so now students can, once they submit their quiz, they're going to have some remediation activities waiting for them afterwards. Now, how do you know which remediation activities students get? Well, let's go back to our Teachers Edition. And, we're looking here on page, where are we? Page 381 in the Teachers Edition. We've already talked about how we can use this assignment guide to help us with the practice and problem solving questions. But if I go to the very end of the lesson, I'm going to see a preview of the quiz. So here's the lesson quiz. Here's a preview of the printable version of the lesson quiz. And then similar to practice and problem solving, I have an item analysis table. Here are the 5 different items on the quiz, depth of knowledge levels. But down below here, this is the criteria that the system is going to use to choose the follow-up activities for your students. So if you're just wondering, okay, how does the computer choose who gets what? Well, here you go. This is how it chooses. You can also use this to get an idea of how you might want to push out remediation to your students manually if you want as well. So that's how that works. Now, in the Teachers Edition, digitally, you can actually click on this link and it'll pull up a full-size version that you can preview. This is the answer key version here. But if I click the next button, this also gives me a chance to preview the other remediation resources that I might want to assign to my students. I love this because it's a thumbnail view. I don't have to dig into Realize and open it. I can just click right here and get a preview of what it looks like. And if I like it, great. If not, then I can move on to the next component. And then back to Realize. From the Teachers Edition, I'm going back to the Realize platform. And here we are back at the lesson quiz. Now, remember I said every student gets the same exact questions, the same exact answers, everything. Well, that doesn't mean, though, that we can't edit this and scramble the questions. So, if I want to use this as a high stakes assessment, so to speak, that will affect the students' grades, then I will go in, I'll click More, Customize. And here we go with the customization page again. I'm going to edit the title, and I'm going to call this first copy the Group A copy. I'm going to save. And then I'm going to click Rearrange. And I'm just going to drag and drop these questions into a different order. Click done. When I'm happy with the rearrangement, I click done again. And so I've just created a version of the test, of the quiz that I call Group A. I go to Customize again. This one I'm going to call Group B. And save the title. Create a new arrangement of questions. And done. I can do this up to 5 different times. So I can have 5 different versions of this quiz floating around. So now when I assign this quiz, instead of assigning the original, I'm going to assign one of the copies that I made. So here for Group B, I'll go to Assign and Start Date, Due Date, and then here, Group B. Then same thing with Group A. Type in Group A. And this way, you know, your students can be sitting in the classroom or even sitting at home, and there are 5 different versions of the quiz floating around in the ether, and students won't know which group they're part of unless they pay close attention to the title. In which case, if you want to be really sneaky, instead of just calling out, you know, Group A, Group B, you know, maybe do a subtle change to the title so that you can distinguish which group gets what. And then anyway, you'll have 5 different versions of the quiz floating around. And remember, part of that customization, you can get rid of questions, you can add additional questions from the library. So this is one of the ways that you can, you know, help make sure that or help eliminate cheating, basically. All right, so we've gone through a lesson here and looked at some of the assignments you can give to your students. These are, you know, additional Math Excel assignments you can give. Notice there are PDF versions, printable versions of the Math Excel assignments for those kids who have IEP 504s that require printable versions. Well, here they are. And this also brings me to a new point. Now, remember, a long time ago at the beginning of this session, we talked about how you use the Answers and Solutions software for any of the answers and solutions you need from the textbook, the hard copy textbook. Well, how about solutions for the digital resources? Where will I find solutions for this lesson quiz? Well, those live right here under Teacher Resources. So if it's a digital assignment, click Teacher Resources, and now you have not only the answer key of this lesson, but also a printable version of the lesson. 2 versions of the printable quiz. Got an editable version as well as a PDF. And so always look for, you know, the teacher resources associated with those digital assessments as well. And you know, then you can assign to your students whatever works best for you and for them. Okay, so once again, Joe, I'm going to stop here and check for understanding. We've gone basically through an entire lesson, talked about the resources available, how you can assign individual components to your students to work at from home on their own, or as a playlist, you know, different, you know, grouping different things together as a playlist, and maybe students can follow along during instruction as we're working on these things synchronously, or they can work on these things asynchronously. But basically, as a teacher, you have control over anything that you want your students to see at any time. So again, I'm going to stop here and see if anyone has any questions about what we've seen so far.
Feel free to jump in, anybody. Otherwise, he's low on time and we have another something more to do. Oh, Amy's got a question. Go ahead, Amy.
Can you, when you create your own quiz or whatever, you've added extra questions. Last spring, I had trouble with customizing it afterwards, so that if I wanted 3 versions for a class, it didn't seem to let me save those different versions. It just defaulted to 1, and that's all I could find in my library.
Okay, so let's take a look. So there are 2 places to look for customized quizzes. So I'm gonna navigate out of here for a second, and the reason is because, you know, maybe I've created a list of customized questions, and when I created those customized versions, initially it was very easy to find those things, but then when I navigate back to that page, maybe the next day or whatever, I go here to my lesson quiz and I say, wait a minute, what happened to those versions I just created? I don't see versions here anywhere. So first of all, if I click on more, now the versions button appears. I click on versions, and those different versions I've created will reappear in the list. They don't automatically appear, and that's just because, you know, I guess we just don't want to make things messier than they already are. So that's one thing. Look for the more button and then versions, so you can see the versions you've created.
Will
and then
that
the
work
next,
for, I'm sorry, will that work
Yeah.
for ones that we generate, not just the standard ones for the lesson? So quiz 3 has 5 questions, you can rearrange, cool. But if I generate one, say I combine lesson 3 and 4 together and I've made a new quiz, will that also store somewhere, or because that one's the one that seemed to disappear every day?
Gotcha. And in fact, yes, it will be stored. Those are stored in your library. So if you go to library, and then you've created a quiz from scratch, which sounds like you're very familiar with that, or maybe you started from, you know, one of the quizzes and just modified it heavily. Then you go to my library at the top of the page, and then over here in the left column, let's see if I can. Yeah, if you choose custom tests, then it's going to bring up all those red dot assessments, basically, all the digital interactivities in a list, and then you can find it there. So Amy, when you click on my, well, I guess you just got your new account, so you may or may not have any quizzes there already. But this is where, you know, as you can see, those custom quizzes I just created, they're right there, ready to go.
Great, thank you.
Yep, you bet. And the nice thing about this, as Amy is inferring, next year she'll be able to very quickly find that quiz right there in our library. And so instead of having to create it from scratch, click the 3 buttons or the 3 dots and assign it directly to your students from there next year. Any other questions?
A question came up about Amy being able to do what she did about combining quizzes together. So obviously Amy knows how to do that, and you don't have much time here, Carlton. So we could probably get together and let Sarah know how to do that later on. Combining like a 7-3 and a 7-4 lesson quiz, just taking problems from each.
Yeah, you bet. It is honestly super easy. As you are, you know, in the customization process, you'll notice that you have the option to add items from test bank, and that's where you can access items by standard or by keyword, and they can be from anywhere, basically.
Okay, that's good. Continue.
Yeah. So, all right, so we've talked about the lesson structure and how you can push things out to your students. Now, how about data? How are you going to look at your students' performance? Well, a couple of places you're going to go. So first of all, click on classes. And here are the classes that, you know, I'm working with here. And we've looked at this a little bit already. When I click on assignments, this is the running assignment list in descending order by date, by due date. And if I need to edit, you know, an assignment that I've created, I click that assignment, and then I see some options here. Clicking View Student Status gives me a list of students who have and have not started that assignment, or maybe they're in progress. And then also, this is where I can go. If I click on Assignments by Student, now I can drill down into each student individually. So here's Apollo Creed. Click on Apollo, And these are all the assignments that Apollo has, that's on his list. I can tell which one he's done, which ones he hasn't done, past due, and so forth. If I click on the assignment, let's see here, like this lesson quiz scored 83%. This is one of the places I can go to review his work. I can make a comment. And then this is also where I can find any attachments that may have gone along with an assignment. So students can attach files to various assignments, and I can view those files too. Now, one of the things that's important to note is that this average, the student average here, is based only on the assignments that have been completed. So none of these zeros, these 14 not completed assignments, none of those zeros go into this average score. So, and as you can see, it's very obvious, but just keep that in mind. And so that's assignment by student. Now the next place to look for data is in data. We click here, go into the data tab at the top of the page, and then class results by assignment. And then I have 4 different reports at my fingertip. I'm sorry, I have 3 different graphs at my fingertips here: usage, progress, and scores. It's this top one that you'll probably spend most of your time in. And as I hover over each bar, the title of the assignment pops up. I can click on that bar, and now I have those 4 different reports at my fingertips: standards, question analysis, these hyperlinks. I can see which students got the questions right and wrong. Student analysis is a nice visual representation. It allows me to go to that individual student's response very quickly. And performance analysis, which is the, I can set a threshold score, and I can basically break my class into 2 different groups: those who score above the threshold, those who score below, and then I can assign resources to each one of these ad hoc groups. And I can also drag and drop, from one group to the other that way as well, to help customize for my content for my students. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know I've thrown a lot at you, and I so appreciate your patience, and thank you for your questions. It really does help when it's interactive, and you guys are asking some super intelligent questions, which shows me that you really have started digging into this platform already. And I want to thank you for your time, and then also just need to show you one last slide here, and that's a participant survey. Now, Joe's going to email this out to you with the link. And any feedback that you can give us would be greatly appreciated. But guys, thanks so much for your time. And, I think you're going to be super excited about this curriculum. It's so fortunate that, before all this craziness with COVID happened, that this happened to be the curriculum that your district chose, because, this is uniquely situated to address so many of our students' needs in a virtual environment. So, guys, have a great school year. Please reach out if you have any questions, and thanks again for your time. Joe, take it away.
Carlton, thank you very much. We're excited for this curriculum for certain. Okay, so Carlton's probably going to be leaving our call here. If you do have some questions, Veronica and I can stick around for a little bit. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to end the recording right now, and then does anybody have a question?
Thanks again, guys. Take care.
Thank you, Carlton.